o'clock, we'll call for the order. Please rise. Flag. Or pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The school board will convene to executive session today to consider the employment, promotion, compensation, and performance evaluation data of any public employee or local governmental body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility under Wisconsin statutes 19.85, Paren 1, Paren C, to consider a high school head varsity baseball coach and assistant soccer coach, a volunteer softball coach, personnel issues, administrative contracts, superintendent evaluation, and staffing for 2023-24. Okay. Our auditor is not here tonight due to weather, so we won't be having that presentation, but then we'll move forward to the music department presentation.
Hello, everybody.
Good evening.
Hi.
Well, we're the music department. We are probably the most visual department in the building after athletics. So I'm Tanya Hassenegger. I teach elementary music and band.
I'm Trent Larson. I am the general music teacher as well and choir teacher.
So our breakdown, I teach 4K, 5K general music, 5 through 12 band. I also have jazz band, pep band coincides with the bands. I also teach a private class 1 day a week for half an hour with one of our special needs students. I also teach music theory, but that varies from year to year depending on signage, people that sign up.
And I teach first grade through fifth grade general music. Fifth grade is becoming more of a intro choir. That's the idea anyway this semester. Sixth grade through high school, those are all separate choirs. So sixth grade choir, seventh and eighth grade choir, and the high school choir.
So our elementary music classes, 4K through 5th grade, 4K and through 4th grade, they meet 2 times a week, 30 minutes each. Many of the classes are back-to-back with no break in between. At times that can make it difficult to transition. For instance, if I'm teaching 4K and I go till 9:30, Trent teaches at 9:30 to 10 o'clock with the 4th graders. It's really hard to transition that room. But we make it work. 5th grade students, this is the year that they have the option to begin band. Those students who do not choose to do band are in regular music class with Mr. Larson. We also do meet 2 times a week, 30 minutes each time. Beginning band students also have a 20-minute lesson 1 day a week at the end of the school day. Elementary concert, there is 1 concert a year. That's our winter concert. It's probably our most filled concert if you've ever been to one. And the 5th grade band gives 2 concerts a year. Here are our numbers in our middle school and high school classes. Our 5th grade band has 32. The remainder of 16 are in the music class. Our 6th grade band is 27, 6th grade choir 12, 7th and 8th grade band 39, 7th and 8th grade choir 40. High school band is 22 with 1 independent study. High school choir is 8 with 1 independent study. Just as a background, last year we did graduate 9 seniors, and the freshman class was a very smaller, much smaller class. So for me, I only had 3 freshmen come up, so it brings our numbers down. And the jazz band, which is made up of 6th through 12th grade, I have 20 students. Per DPI, all 6th grade students are required to participate in either band or choir, and they can do both. After 6th grade, music is no longer required of our students. The bands and the choirs meet on our rotating red and black rotation, which means Monday, Wednesdays. For instance, I have 6th grade band. Trent has 7th and 8th grade choir. Tuesdays, Thursday, we switch grades. Friday is the rotating day, so 1 week I will have 6th grade band 3 times, and he'll have 7th and 8th grade. And then we switch the next year. As you see, I wrote that it's not necessarily optimal to have that schedule, because if it's a 2-day week for like my band, Monday, Wednesday, like I saw them yesterday, I will now not see them until next Monday. So they have 4 days in between their rehearsals. High school band and choir, they meet every day for 45 minutes. And jazz band meets Tuesday and Thursday mornings before school for 30 minutes.
All middle school band students receive 1 to 20 minute small group lessons during resource time for 7th and 8th grade. 6th grade pulled from face or typing. Choral lessons I give after school. Generally, a student came up to me and she was saying that after school doesn't work. I try to be as flexible as possible, and I just, discussing schedule time and whether one of my prep times, if they work with her study hall, trying to figure that out. So that's in process, but generally they are after school. I have my choral lessons.
I threw in there that our opinion that middle school choral students, so the band students, they get it right away during the day. They get during resource, they get during face and typing. That is not an option for choral lessons. To my understanding, when I started 12 years ago, the main purpose of the lessons for the middle school band was to help make up time for that alternating schedule, and that it entails a little bit more to manipulate an instrument. So that's why that is the way it is. And then high school students, if they want lessons, they talk to either one of us, and if their study hall coincides with one of our preps, we try to fit it in. Otherwise, we do before or after school. Performances. Each ensemble performs at least 2 concerts a year, winter and spring. We have other small performances. We have pep band. We are on a rotating schedule for Veterans Day. We are on the docket for next year for Veterans Day. We like to go caroling throughout the community during the holidays, whether that's traveling down 3rd Avenue, singing with the choir, or going to nursing homes and performing for them. Last year we performed at the Pancake Dinner for the National Honor Society, and this year we have a Fine Arts Night that will be taking place in March, and then we participate in solo and ensemble. Both high school band and choir have the opportunity to perform the Bama Honors Band and the Bama Honors Choir, and those are select high school students.
Tell what BAMA stands for.
Bay Area Music Association. Basically, it's like the athletic conference where we're in Pac-Land. We have all the conference schools. We get together, we do like a draft, like the football draft. We find all of our top students and we rotate schools that are able to host the day, and we get together. We just had it this past weekend. We work with a clinician all day long from 8 till 3 in the afternoon, rehearse, and at 4 o'clock have a concert. It's a really fun day. It's wonderful, especially for our students being in a smaller ensemble. It gives them the opportunity to perform with a full ensemble at least once a year. We also do the parades, Jacksonport Parade, both the Thanksgiving Day and Mayfest. We have taken a couple trips. We have gone to Florida. That was our very first trip. We've gone to New York, Chicago, and New Orleans. And our upcoming performances, we are visible at Pep Band Games for basketball. The 5th grade middle school, high school band concert's April 17th. Choir concert is May 16th. The Mayfest parade is May 27th, and then graduation is June 5th.
Thank you.
Questions, comments? I will say, when Pep Band is on a basketball game, you're sorely missed.
Can only be so, the girls'
I
basketball
know,
games
you
are
can
really
really-
hard. Almost the entire, I shouldn't say the entire. More than 3/4 of our trumpet section is on the girls' basketball.
I know that.
If I lose my trumpets, it's a...
Although the officer, the resource officer
Yes,
plays.
yes,
with
Ashley
them
has
one week.
come, yep, Ashley
That's kinda
plays
neat.
whenever she's
Yeah.
here. She's gonna be here Friday too, she's gonna play. You can play anytime you want.
You know what?
Anybody else play an instrument? We can use you.
Yeah.
We can use
Join
you.
us.
Better get that right.
It's a volunteer, right?
Like the Beatles, nice. We need one of those.
Hey, Kyle, what's the state's background or thought that 5th grade had to do band and choir? 6th grade they don't, or is it 6th grade you do band and choir?
Sixth grade is still required.
7th grade?
And then once they hit 7th grade, it is no longer required that
Why
they
is
have
that?
to be music class.
Getting other stuff in the day, there's so many hours in a day.
That's too bad. Because learning a musical instrument is something you hate what you're doing. But when you're about the time you're 23, it doesn't take long. You say, why didn't I keep playing the piano and keep playing whatever? It's one of those things you don't know what you don't know. And letting kids just not do it anymore doesn't help anybody. And it gives them something they can be successful at and learn new things there and all that stuff. So anyway, I just think that's kind of strange.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't think you're trying to turn corn
Yeah,
I can remember.
I've got some. You just let me know, I can send you home with one.
I play the piano.
That was good, thank you so much. We then are going to hear about Character Strong from Mr. Schaefer.
That's right.
All right, well, good evening and good to see everybody. I'm going to talk a little bit about our social emotional curriculum that we started at the middle school, high school. Once again, the Character Strong program is being used throughout our whole school, which I think is really awesome because there's such a great progression with lessons as it relates. So I'm going to show you the first lesson that kind of gives you some background. So what is this, how it works, and why it matters. So first of all, what is Character Strong? I like this first one a lot because when they talked about students who have actually gone through the program, and I know other schools have adopted this as well. It's used at Southern Door as well. They're also using Character Strong. But when we ask students who experience Character Strong, they talked about building better connections with our peers and people we don't talk to on a daily basis, so making those connections is really good. Ways that we can make our school better, a more fun place, and figure out how to help our community. I think it does a lot more than that, but it's just a good setup. They're talking about giving you a perspective on mental health, but it's a place to feel less alone with fellow students and help people be heard. So, you know, once again, and I know we've talked about this a little bit here, but it's really important when you're doing a Character Strong lesson or a program with students, you really have to create, first and foremost, a room of safety. You have to create an environment where the students feel comfortable to be able to talk about a variety of things. And since there's many topics and they're geared towards your age level, they don't just do the same lessons every time. They change throughout your year in school, which I think also is a great progressive opportunity to help in their social emotional development. But basically, the idea of it originally is to give students an opportunity to talk about various things that they deal with. Today I'm going to walk you through a typical lesson, and it's a lesson on stress. Our sophomores were doing 2 weeks ago this lesson. They finished up part 2 this week. The great thing about this program is students had a voice in creating this program and coming up with the lessons, so this is really important. There's a variety of activities, things that you can do with students to help with connection and engagement. There's a statistic that was out there, also asking high school students what is the percent of high school students that go through a day and they're not acknowledged. They're not acknowledged at all. And the number was a staggering high. 70% of high schoolers feel that they can go to school and go a whole day and never be recognized, never have an opportunity to even hear somebody call their name, say hi to them, have an opportunity to speak. And that's another thing that Character Strong really provides, is opportunity for students, to speak up, to be recognized, to be in a smaller group in a safe lesson. And I like this number 3, and I'm skipping to this one because it says you probably won't like or connect with every session, and that's okay. Not everyone likes the same stuff, which is really, when I've talked to many students about the program so far, and some have really wonderful things to say, others have had a variety of opinions, some haven't liked it as much, and I'll talk more about that, but and I like this too, you get out of the sessions what you put into them, and that's what's really interesting. So I've had a chance to talk with some teachers who have really talked about how their Character Strong program has been really dynamic in their room, and one of the keys to a great Character Strong program is the delivery. I was talking with one teacher that was having some success, and we talked about, really people who make this meaningful can customize the lessons to their students that are in their classroom, understanding your clientele, understanding the people who are in front of you and what they need is really critical. If you're just going to go through slides and read through the program and just do it to do it, it's not going to be as meaningful. I'm not saying that's happening, but I'm just saying it's a critical part. So how does this work? Well, in red you can see, in order for the program to work, it takes everybody. It starts with the teacher along with the students, set up agreements. They set up a safe place for students to express themselves, talk about things, be patient, give students an opportunity to speak when they want, have journals, so instead of them always having to speak in class, giving them an opportunity to write down thoughts that they have, and create environments where students can respond appropriately to some of the prompts, which we'll talk about. So you'll see these are the big icons. So there's 5 steps in every single lesson. So they have the start, the community, the content, the challenge, and then the closing session. So without further ado, I'll kind of get started. So here I'm in grade 10, and I'll just kind of thumb through these for grade 10 so you can see. But they have the first four lessons are just basically setting it up. So they wanted us to devote 4 weeks to really creating a safe environment, and your community agreements, which would be something like mutual respect, attentive listening, valuing other people's opinions even if they're different from your own, no judgment, things like that, and really being able to set up an environment so the students can feel safe. So as you can see, there's a variety of topics as we go through: to-be list, well-being, goals for a good well-being, to be happy, to society and well-being, staying true to your values, knowing what a value is, how to get those going, how to establish those, how to identify what values are going to be the most meaningful to you. But this one, since we recently had our finals, I thought this was a good one, and it was done 2 weeks ago, is stress and coping. So what a teacher would do is, they start the lesson, and I'm going to leave it minimized because I'm going to be popping around a little bit. So basically, we start with the lesson, stress and coping, and to get it going safely, I love this one, but share 2 things that you can see or hear that you are grateful for. Now, there's a couple of ways that a teacher could attack this. You could have your students turn and pair share, so it's a small group, so it's really safe, where it's only that student and another one. You could have a journal started where they could just write this down and you ask any students, maybe 1 or 2 to share, or you can just do this as a whole group. But one thing I think, when we talk about mindfulness and being happy, one very important component to having fulfillment or happiness is being grateful. And so when you think about 2 things that you can see, this is also where the educator becomes huge, because you have to be vulnerable. Like, for example, if I was teaching this class for the first time, one of the things that I am so grateful for that I can see is I'm a 50-year-old man, and I get to go fishing with my dad, and I get to see my mom. And I have many, many friends who have lost their parents already, and I'm blessed, and I get to see them anytime I want. I can FaceTime them, and that's really important. And then also, most people don't know this about me, but I'm actually deaf in my left ear, so just being able to hear in itself is a gift. So when most people don't know that, and you make yourself vulnerable, that also should encourage our students to help put themselves out there as well. Because if you're not willing to be vulnerable, asking your students to do that doesn't seem like a very reasonable request, right? So, and so I was really vulnerable with all of you today, and it's just a great way to start the lesson. Get people talking, get students engaged, and then we move on. After that, we share for a little bit. And this connection matters. Another very safe opportunity for students to talk about a variety of topics. So what you would do is you'd say, you could ask your students, hey, pick a category. Today I'm going to pick the category. My 2 favorite categories in these are the Deck of Destiny and Deep Dig. So I'm going to start with the Deck of Destiny, and I'm going to just go right to, so let's say you're in the class and you said, all right, well, let's pick a diamond, Mr. Schaefer. So we pick a diamond, and you say, you can pick any card. So I would go Ace of Diamonds. What a great choice. First one. So we start with this awesome question. What motivates you to work hard and why? And here's where this first question becomes really dynamic. First of all, if you can get students to actually, be honest with what actually motivates them. So for example, if they say, well, my parents motivate me to work really hard. Well, that's not very intrinsic, right? So they're extrinsically being motivated. And I think one of our goals is to help our young people be motivated intrinsically. So when you hear, well, my parents give me $10 for every A I get on my report card. Once again, if you look at Lawrence Kohlberg's levels of moral development, that's a 2. There's 6 levels. So if you're sitting at a 2, and we're working with middle school, high schoolers, we want to kind of push them beyond the, I do well because I'm going to get something such as money. And boy, if any of you are doing that, I'm not judging. They'll have to do what we got to do. But point being is, it's just an awesome thing. Like, once again, if I would, someone said, hey, Mr. Schaefer, what motivates you to work hard? It's really an interesting story because I've actually spoken on this quite a bit. And I don't know exactly why. I think I came from a really hardworking family. My dad was a landfill operator. My mom was a factory worker. I remember my mom working really long shifts, making dinner, putting her clothes on, and working and going to Shopko to work another shift. So we had money. Most of you know in my story, I come from a pretty humble background. My first pair of basketball shoes in 7th grade came from the landfill. So I guess when you don't have much, when you didn't have much, you really learn to value things that you want. And I always love telling my students the story, but one time I wanted a 10-speed bike, and in order to get that 10-speed bike, I had to do 8 chores a day. One of those was changing my brother's diapers, which maybe is why I don't have children, I don't know. But I had to do all 8 chores every single day. And if I missed one chore, and I got paid, are you ready for this? My allowance was $1 a week. That's right, it was amazing. And I had a Matchbox car set. So Matchbox cars, younger people wouldn't know, but Matchbox cars were these cool cars, and I had this case. So every week I did it, I got $1. And I did this for 50 weeks. So I had 50 $1 bills, and I bought my first brand new 10-speed bike. So I guess what motivates me to work hard is, first of all, I was really taught great values. I wasn't given anything. I always had to work for everything I got. But then as I moved on in life, like for example, now in my current role, the only thing that what really motivates me and what's my why are the people in the building. I love our students to death. I would do anything for anybody in this building. I love our teachers. I love the people in here. This is an enormously great building to be in, and I'm not making this up. I mean, this is how I feel. People who have interacted with me know this is how I feel. But what motivates me is just, God darn it, I don't want to let people down, and I want to be the best I can be at whatever it is that I do. And it's intrinsic, so I don't care. I don't really need people to motivate me. It's just, you know what I mean? And so it's a great conversation to have. Now, obviously, as an educator, you wouldn't be talking that much. You want to let your students have more of a voice. But it's really interesting when you do ask children, what does motivate you? What motivates you to do anything, to play sports? Why do you play basketball? Why do you play baseball? Why do you, why do you work hard to get good grades? And talking about that. But anyways, if we picked any other ones, I'll go through these quick without wasting your time. But I love this one too. But especially when you're talking with students who have a hard time identifying things that are really great about themselves and having a hard time. I think this is also really good. I'm just going through all these. So any one of these choices, what do you wish you knew how to cook? Anything. All good stuff. All safe questions, things that can be really engaging. And once again, I do believe the more vulnerable you are as the teacher, the more vulnerable your students will become. So then, just going back, after you do one of the deck of destinies, you usually would do one card. Hopefully it leads to a great discussion. You can pick another topic, and of course, deep digging. This is my favorite one because if I was teaching a class, it would really help me to gauge how safe of a room I really created, because the deep digging is where we're asking our students to think on a deeper level. So like, for example, when we look at your goal, what's one goal you have for next month? Well, I don't know. And that's where all right, we'll think about something. And you break it down in categories like a personal goal, an academic goal, athletic goal, maybe a relationship goal, something that you might have that you're working for. And then for what do you want to do next month? And then you skip down to number 2, what's the first step? And this really aligns with how to accomplish anything you want. So that's another route I would go. But how do you accomplish anything you want? You need to know where you currently are. You need to know where you want to go. You need to understand what you need to do to get from where you are to where you want to go. And then once you learn that, then it's all about the actual doing. So it kind of aligns with this. So I like that a lot. Moving on. So after you do these to kind of engage a lot of conversation, and as you can see here in 10th grade, you got a lot of options for conversations. You got a lot of different things. You're doing gifts, and there are a lot of great topics, but also there are some that, if I knew I was with a certain student group here at Sevastopol, I wouldn't have those categories, or we wouldn't use those because I'd want to tailor it or customize it to the students that I have. Now we get into the activity, which is probably one of the most powerful ones is control the controllables. John Wooden, the greatest teacher of all time, in my personal opinion. I shared this quote the other day with our students, but you know, if you spend your life and your energy over those things that you have no control, it will adversely affect the things over which you do have control. And so, another just a great, hey, remember when we just did this, did you hear Mr. Schaefer talk about this quote? This is exactly what he's talking about. Of course, there's also the Pareto principle where the 80-20, and I've adapted that with this exact lifestyle. And I would share this with students, but in my life, I choose to put 80% of my energy on things that I actually have control, and the 20% on the things that I don't. Because I find that it's what allows me to have a lot more energy. If those numbers are reversed and I spend 80% of my energy on things I have zero control over, I get much more exhausted, much quicker, and upset, sad, lack motivation sometimes as far as it just wears you down. So that's a really important philosophy. So then what they do is, I won't share this with you, but they usually have a video. Often when I've met with teachers on this, I often encourage them to actually just watch the video to get the idea so they can keep staying and tailor the video, the information in the video with their students. So in here they were just, I'm sorry, they were talking about, you know, in our life, about identifying areas that we can fix versus coping. So sometimes, like when you're driving on the highway and you're minding your own business and car A cuts right in front of you and scares you, it'd be a great question to ask, is that something you can fix or is it something you have to cope with? Now we would hope everyone would say it would be a coping mechanism and not fixing, because I think we know the outcome. If we try to fix it, it only adds to worse things. So I guess where the term road rage comes from, which isn't good. Now, and what I love about this is, you know, you have a bunch of sessions where you're talking about what are the things that we can cope with and what are the things that we have to fix. So like another thing that I would do here, if I'm teaching this lesson, once again I'm just trying to show you that there is some adaptability to this. So on a whiteboard, I draw a huge circle, just a huge one, and inside I draw a small circle. On the outside, I would ask students, what are all the things that you don't have control over? All of them. Tell me what you don't have control over. And I've done this with athletes. I've done this with people I've coached. Because we talk about, like in sports, in baseball, umpires gets in there. So we identify that umpires, we have no control over the umpire. So in programs that I have coached, you know, we established that, well, then we'll never ever say anything to the umpire. Because what's the point? Why would we spend any energy on something we don't have control? Even though that's been made popular, it seems like a thing in baseball where people yell at the umpire, but really, what's the point? You know, I've never, and I always tell players this, I've never seen an umpire change a call because we yelled really loud. Never seen that, ever in baseball. And so, you know, we talk about stress, and there's positive stress and there's negative stress. And it becomes negative stress, you know, when you are focusing on those things that you don't have control over. So, the fewer things we feel like we can control in our lives, the more stressed we are. What a great lesson for young people. The fewer things we feel like we have control. So let's talk about that, right? What in your life don't you have control over? Well, my parents won't let me go out on a Tuesday night till midnight. Okay, you don't have control over that, right? And that's frustrating, and that causes stress. But identifying, you know, your parents have rules and why they have those and why it's important on a school night. But once again, just kind of helping young people navigate through this thing we call life. What am I doing, Carl?
A little long.
What's it? That's a little long? Oh, okay, I'll shut it down.
Yeah.
But as you can see, like just talking about how stress makes you feel, what it does to you, what are stressful things outside of your control. Once again, going back to the circle, helping students identify. So like having a final exam on a Thursday, but you got more than one. Did you have control over that? No. Is it worth getting stressed out about? Probably not, because there's nothing you can do about that. So what can you do? So I don't know, I just feel like this is a really purposeful and timely lesson. And then you just pick a couple of people that respond. Some more of these, like coming up with different stressful situations. You find out on social media that your friends are hanging out and you didn't get an invite. So you talk about, is that something you cope with? Is that something you fix? And I like that they kind of give you some responses like, I can't control that people choose to hang out with me. You couldn't control that. But, you know, if you want to hang out with friends, what you can control. So there's some great life lessons there. So in short, Character Strong is an opportunity for our young people to have some guidance from our wonderful educators to help them navigate through the stresses, the difficulties of life, finding value, being positive, having a great mindset, having a growth mindset and an unwillingness to give up when things are difficult. Thank you.
So you said all grades are doing some lesson in Character Strong?
Yep. It's a school-wide initiative, which is awesome.
Which is great because character is probably built in those early years. By the time they get to be sophomores.
Not that I want to argue with the president at all, but I think it's an ongoing.
No, I think it's an ongoing thing, but by the time they're sophomores, it's harder to change character than it is when they're sophomores. I think.
Yep.
So it's great the whole school is working on it.
Will there be an opportunity for students to assess the program?
Yes. So I was ready for that one. So
Yeah, you know me too well.
yeah, I know. Because I actually had talked to some students. I had some students who were willing to come in, but I really feel like we're just at the halfway point.
Okay.
And I think, you know, with this program, I think it's really the most valuable insight that we'll have is when we get towards the end,
Okay.
and students have experienced it for a year, to bring them in where they completely, because, you know, there's been some students who, from the beginning, you know, when it started, they were like, why are we doing this? I don't get it, I don't like it. And then they've changed a little bit.
Okay.
Now, there's some students who are staying strong with, I don't really like it because it's affecting my resource time, so I'm going to be honest with that.
Okay.
But there's other students who have loved it from the get-go and still love it. But once again, if you're in a classroom, Sue, that's completely safe and you feel good with the group that you're in, you know, obviously your experience is going to be very different than if you're in a class where you're not feeling comfortable.
Good. Well, I would be interested in the student input, whether it's a survey or in-person presentation, whatever.
Troy, what kind of protocol do you have when you identify a student that has a serious problem? I mean, how do you deal with that? I mean,
So like if a student identifies in a Character Strong lesson they have a serious problem, it's really interesting that you bring that up. So in a case, if something like, you know, something, I don't know, I'll keep it general, okay, just to keep it
like,
appropriate, I guess, and like, yeah. So if we got a student and they say something that's really concerning, like, you know, I get really stressed out because we don't have any food. We don't eat. I guess it's not very light, but it's a realistic thing in our world, right? Sometimes things happen and all family dynamics are different. You know, and that's where I think it's really important where, first of all, the student would share that, something personal like that. And I got to experience this as a teacher when I did a different program like this. A student shared that they don't have any clothes. And one of the things we did is in our class is the students came up with this. This is one of my favorite stories. But a girl ended up, she lived with her sister who was 18 and had 3 children of her own. And so she only had one sweatshirt, 1 pair of pants. And the students got together and they provided her 2 large bags of clothes. She had a designer outfit for almost every single day of the month, which is really cool. Now here at Sevastopol, obviously if those types of things are discussed and talked about, you know, certain classrooms have a different relationship. I think that really is important in how that handles. A lot of times the teacher will talk to the student, you know, offer them support, help, what they can do. And then if that information gets across to, you know, to me as well, we also try to set some things up to help that child out. Really good question.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Carl, did we have any guests sign up to speak?
We should probably clap for you.
I got nothing. I got nothing.
Okay then, does anyone wish anything from the consent agenda? If not, that is approved by consent with donations from the Raybuck donation for live theater and student education and enrichment, $1,000 anonymous donation for $1,000 each for the Pioneer Cafe and Fuel Up to Play 60, $500 from the Door County Orchard Company for the girls' middle school basketball, and the Stella Maris Parish of $350 for pupil services. So thanks to all those ways. We'll move to the administrator reports and begin with Mrs. Markgraf.
Tonight, I just wanted to highlight that I recently accepted the second installment of the Kids Get Ahead initiative that Governor Evers had promoted at the beginning of the school year. So as a reminder, the first installment of money was about $17,000, and we partnered with CISA to be a part of their school-based mental health service team, right? So they would come and do some professional development with staff. We're still working with CISA on that, but I accepted the second half of that as well. So we have more resources to be able to promote school-based mental health. And I look forward to meeting with the guidance counselors tomorrow to start brainstorming ideas and then bringing those ideas to the administrative team to make sure that we're using that money wisely to help our students.
Thank you. Mr. Hills.
Just a few things. The spelling bee was held recently. It's the 5th year we've done this. I just want to make sure to thank Mr. Skiba and Mr. Shelsky for kind of the efforts behind the scenes to make sure that that happens. They do a nice job with that. And congratulations to Maggie Thomas, who ended up taking it first. She will represent us in February at the regional competition at CISA. Also, last spring, we did a toy clothing drive for the citizens of Ukraine. And I just wanted to share that we got a thank you letter from the Wisconsin Ukrainians Incorporated for that. So it was nice that our students were able to have an impact on that part of the world. And then lastly, we have done Tundra Tales in the past. It's a challenge for reading, and we will continue to do that. That starts up on the 30th and runs through into March.
Mr. Schaefer.
I'll keep this much shorter. We met with NWTC we're having a CNC informational meeting for our program that we offer to all Door County schools. That'll be taking place here at Sevastopol on February 13th from 5 to 6. The whole purpose of that is we're trying to recruit and up our total of students. We currently have 5 students in our CNC program. We're hoping to increase that number. Our goal would be to get at least 8 for the next year.
Thank you. Does anyone have anything they wish to address or question on the athletic directors or gifted and talented report? We'll move to the superintendent's report.
Yeah, everything I have is within other agenda items.
Okay. I don't have anything, but I do want to draw attention to the math program because I beat the drum on this for several years. Our students never participated well in the math meets because they were on Monday, and if you play basketball, you would have to miss basketball practice or you would have to miss a game oftentimes. And the year after COVID, they did them remotely. The students would compete in their own schools, and then those scores would be sent in. And there was more participation last year. They did better last year. And this year, they've done really well. If you follow the announcements, they took second place in the conference. We had some really high performers, so credit to our math department. Do any committees have reports, building and grounds or athletics? Nothing? Budget.
Budget, you can see in Fund 10, our balance at the end of December was just over $1 million, $1,027,072.22. That should be our low point then for the year, because in January, all the municipalities send us checks so far, right, Carl? Every municipality?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll get more in February, so our revenue is going to come up here in January, February, so that's the low point. Fund 46 is up about $36,000 because that's the transfer from the Booster Club for the Phase 2 building project out there. And then we received some special education aid, about $73,000 this month.
Anything on facilities?
This building, no. The building project, today I got an email from Myron for a bill for $29,000 from Hutchinson for bedrock removal. And it was dated July 26th, so it's almost 6 months old. And Myron's going to discuss it with Hutchinson because it should have been in the original bid, the workup, and they knew there was bedrock. Well, there's bedrock all over North County, but they knew there was, and we didn't have any heads up until today. So I told Myron at this point we're not paying it, so we'll see where that goes.
On board goals, I'm just going to ask, last time we approved that great graphic that Mr. Schaefer created. Were we doing posters of that, banners of that?
Yeah, we talked about ad team today.
Going anyplace?
Yes, we have the poster design. We're just, it looks really good, and we're moving forward. We're going to have about 50 copies of posters for teachers to have in the rooms. And around.
You got it on your computer? We had it at ad team today.
Well, we approved it last time.
Respect.
You'll see how he flared it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, that was my question on that.
I have it. I don't know if you could see it from here.
Oh. Nice.
Turned out pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
Looks more professional.
Very nice. I'm going to send you all, I didn't get the pictures taken at Gibraltar the other night, I'm going back on Friday night. They have banners hanging in the school in a couple of locations. They're probably 6 or 7 feet tall, maybe 3 feet wide, and they are, I can't remember, America's Best School from U.S. News and World Report. They're banners that aren't very much, they don't cost very much money to have made, but they're kind of eye-catching for people walking in the door. So I'll send you a photo of those, and if we have some accomplishment that we can put out there, they're not expensive to have made. When I say not expensive, they're under $50.
Yeah. Upright banner type, what you're talking about, self-standing upright banners.
They're not, they have them hanging on the wall.
Oh, on the wall.
On the backboard. And they're like of a plastic or something like that. So I'll send you pictures of those.
I agree with Lisa. I mean, like right now, we're at the top. We score the best in the county, right?
Right.
So we should have a banner out front of school saying we are #1 in our country. If you don't toot your own horn.
Number 1 on the state report card.
Yeah, and they were on the state report card. If you don't toot your own horn, nobody else is going to toot your own horn.
Well, we announced on the radio, it's been on our Facebook, is that?
No,
But
right in front of them.
We used to have those, we used to have 4 banners. We used to have 4 banners on the front
So
of
you want
the
more
school.
banners?
Most people listen to
No,
satellite.
there.
Most people listen to
And say
satellite.
#1 in Door County.
MP3s or something. They don't listen to
Yeah,
WBOR.
I don't know what they should say, but
Yeah.
they looked impressive to me walking
Everybody
into the
listens to
school.
NPL and
But you got a year to take advantage of it. So take advantage of it. Nobody's going to take advantage of it. Gibraltar's not going to donate a banner to you. Say, congratulations, you're #1. We're going to give you a banner.
So I didn't get the items specifically agendaed, but you had some things you wanted to have us discuss regarding legislatively.
Yes. I did have distributed to you a document that looks like this, which came from the WASB convention. And I wanted to point out a few things in here, and then talk about the day at the Capitol that WASB is sponsoring, as well as the upcoming budget hearings. I'm just going to point out a few of the slides on this handout, and you can read them on your own. Starting with number 3, slide number 3 on page 1. These are the governor's priorities And you'll see the first one there, fully fund our public schools, keep class sizes small, invest in kids' mental health, and so on. Then if you go to the second page, number 5, notice that Wisconsin's national ranking on per pupil spending for K-12 education has dropped from number 11 in 2002 to number 25 in 2020. So we are not competing for the nation as far as spending on public schools. You can read the rest of that.
Next bullet point, where there's no revenue limit adjustment in 6 to 8 years.
Yes.
That kills.
Yes.
And that means we're running flat on revenue.
Right. Number 7 talks about budget requests. We certainly have a lot of funds in the state treasury that we could put toward public schools. Also, number 8, slide number 8 talks about the WASB priorities. Keep in mind that voucher schools get 90% reimbursement aid. That is a goal for WASB to get 90% reimbursement for special education. Slide number 9 talks about the timeline for the state budget, and I will be attending the day at the Capitol on March 22nd. What WASB does is set up the morning to talk about advocacy and priorities for the budget. In the afternoon, we then meet with our legislators. All of this is set up by WASB. I will be attending that, certainly on behalf of WASB and other organizations, but I would also like to represent the district if that is the wishes of the board. And I would like to know what it is you would like me to encourage our legislators in the way of funding. Then you see in slide 9 the budget timeline, and you'll notice a reference to the budget hearings. And those will be set up probably in March and April. And again, I would be happy to provide testimony to the budget hearings, either in person or written testimony. So this, again, I would be willing to do on behalf of the board if that's the interest of the board. Number 11, slide number 11 talks about advocacy. And one of the points that Dan Rossmiller, who is our WASB legislative director, was tell the legislators how we could use more resources. Where do we need more resources? And how do we use parent involvement? It shouldn't just be us who are educational leaders talking to the legislators. We need parents talking to the legislators. We need business people talking to the legislators. They want good employees, well-educated employees. So they have a stake in this as well. And then to ask legislators what their concerns are. I know I've talked to Representative Kitchens a number of times. I know he's concerned about reading and phonics, and it's good to find out what they're interested in. And then slide 12 also talks about advocacy, emails, meetings with lawmakers, attending listening sessions, and testifying at the budget hearing. And slide 13 talks about issues facing schools. Inflation is at a 40-year high. You talked, Kyle, about the revenue limits not being raised. Teacher and other staff supply shortage. We're seeing this right in our own community where a neighboring district has raised their starting salary to be able to attract more teachers. And then recovery from the pandemic learning. Not only the academic learning, but the emotional and mental health and behavioral learning that we are seeing as a result of the pandemic. And then there are some WASB resources and more on the day at the Capitol. So I guess what I would be asking, and also don't forget about the school news. The whole one is devoted to advocacy. This is the January, February issue, some great things in there on advocacy. So if the board would like me to carry our message I would like you to tell me what our message should be, and then authorize me to carry that message at budget hearing and day at the Capitol. I'd be happy to share with you any written documents that I prepared.
So Representative Kitchens, he's the chairman of the Education Committee? No, he-
Yes.
Education, yes, but not finance.
Yes.
No,
Yeah, you got-
Education Committee.
Yeah.
Yes, of the Assembly.
So, and he's very, very receptive of,
Yes, he is. Yes,
That's why he's off the finance one.
he's our connection.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I would ask for your input.
Well, no revenue limit adjustment, Mr. Luke can probably decide.
The revenue limits?
That should go up every year.
Yes.
Every year costs go up,
Yes,
but it
exactly.
doesn't move up. And in special education, we transfer between $900 and $1 million to special ed Fund 27 out of Fund 10. And that one's fair across the state because every student in Wisconsin is not worth the same amount of dollars. You know, Gibraltar kids are worth more than Sevastopol. Sevastopol kids are worth more than Sturgeon Bay kids when it comes to dollar revenue limit. But special education funding should be at the same rate for everybody.
So looking for the 90%?
That's unrealistic unless they stone it up there. Because
Right.
like DPI was going to 45, 60.
Right.
90 is too far down the road.
Well,
So
Kansas-
equal across,
So equal.
across the board.
Right, yeah, I mean, some advancement at least,
The state
absolutely.
of Kansas has just developed a 5-year plan to get to that 90%.
That would be appropriate. And then sparsity aid,
Sparsity,
because when you have less kids per mile,
right,
it takes more to bring them to school and educate them
Right.
than if they're tight knit.
high-cost transportation aid,
That's about the same as sparsity, yeah. Those would be the areas I get.
Who does the reality check in that position?
Who does what?
A reality check? I mean, when likes get together and talk about needs, they all agree on everything. But we're only a small compartment in a whole society which is going through things. And I'm sitting here thinking at this very time, I know there's a group going on in Madison, this in a building on the south side of Madison, saying we got this huge budget surplus, and we're going to go ask for large increases in the Medicaid dollars because we're tired of losing thousands of dollars on every Medicaid patient. So I mean, there's countervailing groups going for the same amount of dollars. So in a reality check, you go like, what's possible and what's really catching, and which will catch their eyes, and not the same stories that they hear all the time. And I put it in perspective, and not to be, I'm just, I'm a news freak, but education right now is not in the greatest of lights right now in politicians. When you have schools in Virginia and other places withholding National Merit Scholarship Awards, or not telling the students about it, over woke concepts, so we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And that's riveting throughout the whole country. And just today, the governor of Iowa signed a bill to have universal school choice throughout the entire state. So the beginning, if you look at the future, the beginning is going to be the dollars will follow the students. And that's going to happen right now in our neighboring state of Iowa. And that will.
Well, it started here with Racine, Kenosha, Milwaukee, and it's expanded statewide.
Yeah, but it's going to go in a different. It's going to go in a different. I'm
You
just
can't
saying.
stop that, right?
But,
Yeah, there's no way.
Instead of going to politicians with the same stories all the time, what are some unique things that would catch their eyes, catch their attention about what we can do to raise the level of education in Wisconsin? When I came here, when I moved to Wisconsin back in the late 80s, late 70s, Wisconsin was always 1, 2, or 3 in the United States in academic scores. It was either Wisconsin, Iowa, and Minnesota, and once in a while North Dakota. But that was that little group. That was just kind of like a club. Now I think Wisconsin is down to 12, 14, 15. I know it's no longer in the top 5, and no longer in the top 10.
Page 3, item 5, first one, Wisconsin's national ranking on per pupil spending for K-12 has dropped from 11 in 2002 to 25 in 2020. I don't care about the spending. Tell me where we are and what we're going to do to raise our academic level. What's our plan to raise our academic level in Wisconsin? Not necessarily addressing the spending, but just the, our ranking.
When I read that, that's the thing.
If we're down to 25.
That doesn't tell me anything. It just, the cheapest hospital cost for patient care is always the best patient care.
And I would add to not only the academic level, but addressing the mental health and the behavioral level. And I think we're seeing more of that since COVID. I'm hearing that from staff. And I think looking at staffing to meet that, such as the social worker, might be an opportunity to help with that.
I'd be interested in crawling the joke.
What is special education aid reimbursement of 45 to 60%?
They want to jump it up. Down here, it says the WSP schools get the 90%.
Oh,
The
no.
guy's budget request is the 45 to 60, for 45 for first year, 60 for second year in the state budget.
Which is probably more realistic than 90%.
Well, you gotta go 45, 60, and then 75, 90.
You're actually
That's why
after
she said Kansas is going over 5 years.
Right.
Yeah, you'll never get to 90 this next year.
Right.
No, that'll never happen. You can't do that.
Well, I think we have a pretty good starter list here. Is there anything more anyone wants to add from board or staff?
Every dollar you get through special ed saves the regular fund.
And I can get the exact number from Carl for that.
That was we transferred last year.
Yes.
That was $930,000.
Yeah.
Educate me, the special ed dollars and those costs, those go apply to your overall.
We have Fund 27, it's special education, and at the end of the year, Fund 27 has to be at zero or in the black. We always go $900,000, $933,000 in the red, so we take Fund $10 and transfer over. So if we didn't have to transfer $900,000 over there, we'd have $900,000 to do on our general ed. But the law says 27 and 50, 50's food service, have got to be in the black or at zero at the end of the year. So if our food services doesn't make money, we got to take a transfer like we do every year. Same thing with, there's no way special ed can break even right now.
Well, maybe that's a great place to start with somebody like Kitchens, who since he's in the position of,
Well, okay, Kitchen's on education now, and he's all pro-education. When he was on the joint finance, they kicked him off of there because he was too much education. So because of his views on education and sitting on the finance, the rest of the Republicans kicked him off that assignment. So that you saw the flag he got.
You need to make the whole system much more easy with all these funds and funds here and funds there. That's all bureaucratic gobbledygook.
Well, it's an accounting world. If it's accounting, he's got to do it that
Yes.
way.
Well, I know,
Every district is required.
but if you don't tell the legislators how stupid it is and how it doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't, the key is it does not lend itself to educating the students in Wisconsin.
Right. And every district will make that.
Well, then you got to show them why.
Yes.
But,
Well, Kitchen sat in the Sturgeon School Board. He knows it.
Yes.
The guys in the joint finance know it too, but they're never going to change that. They're always going to leave special ed as Fund 27. That'll never change. It'll never change.
So that's a good agenda, or
Yes.
you talked about having parents write. People don't write because people don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. Most of us probably. If you were going to if you were supposed to contact the legislature on something, I think, well, I don't know how to say it. So I think if you would put this, I don't want to put this work on you, but if you could put this together in some recap of what our agenda is, what we're lobbying for, we can get that out to our public, because they understand it less than we all do.
Right.
So the more we put it out there, the more educated they're going to be, and
And they're better spokespeople because the legislators are numb to district administrators and school
Right.
boards and
Right.
the various associations. They hear from us all the time, so they, you know, I met with kitchens 3 times a year in Chalk,
Yeah.
a couple others, and they come to our CISA meetings and schools asking for money again, but it's parents and community members and
Right.
businesses
Be able to
different.
Put that into some format,
I'll
that,
put together some talking points.
some talking points that then we can share with the community
Yes,
businesses.
I'll bring that to the February meeting.
Or whoever. Anything else on that?
No, I will proceed then with the blessing of the board and bring this back to the February meeting. And by then, we'll maybe know a little bit more about when the hearings are and certainly prepare for the day at the Capitol.
Thank you.
Lisa, if I may, with that, wouldn't they want to spend more in special ed? I get that. But with the way the laws are right now, with the money that we get from the state, and we have to meet what's called maintenance of effort, and they say, support not supplant, meaning we have to keep spending more each year in special ed of our own money in order to keep getting the money from the state. If we have to pay it back, we get a penalty.
Right.
To me, that's backwards. I mean, if we're gonna get the money from the state, get the money from the state to run our programs, but stop making us spend more money of our own just to get the money from the state. That, to me, is backwards.
Right. I hear your point. Thank you.
Well, and they don't, it doesn't lead to being efficient then.
No,
Right.
no.
Break even at best.
Yes, good point.
Okay, our next item is the annual anticipated open enrollment availability report.
We have each grade level, the number of students currently enrolled, capacity for the year, and this is for the 23-24 school year. Yeah, up on the top, the special education, it's full-time equivalency, so you might see a percentage of a child, 0.8 or 0.7. And there wasn't much change from last year, was there?
No, not
No.
much change from last year. Higher needs this year, which makes the numbers go up.
So we would look for a motion to approve this for the 23-24 school year.
Move to approve the 23-24 projected space availability for open enrollment.
Second.
Question or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We'll look for a motion to approve the 23-24 girls swimming cooperative with Survey May.
And Southern North, but not Gibraltar. Gibraltar was in the last one.
Oh, they're not, okay. So ask Sturgeon Bay and Southern North for the swimming, the girls swimming cooperative.
So moved. I move to approve the 23-24 girls swimming guided club.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then the approval of the 23-24 boys swimming cooperative with the 4 England school districts, Gibraltar, Sevastopol, Southern North, and Sturgeon Bay.
I'll make a motion to approve the WIA boys swimming 23-24 cooperative agreement.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Approval of the 23-24 boys wrestling cooperative between Sevastopol and Sturgeon Bay.
I would move to approve the WIAA Boys Wrestling 2023-24 cooperative renewal with Sturgeon Bay.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And then the girls 23-24 WIAA wrestling cooperative, Sevastopol, Sturgeon Bay.
I'll make a motion to approve the WIA girls wrestling 23-24 cooperative renewal.
Second.
Questions or discussion?
How many girls wrestle?
2.
2? Good for me.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We'll then look for a motion to approve the resignation of Derek Menzwicki as the varsity assistant baseball coach.
Move to approve the resignation of Derek Mizewski as the women's varsity assistant baseball.
The second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Motion to approve Joel Sawyer. Approve the resignation of Joel Sawyer as JV baseball assistant coach.
I would move to approve the resignation of Joe Sawyer, junior varsity baseball assistant coach.
Second.
Questions or discussions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. The resignation, for motion on the resignation of Maureen Collins as the Title I reading aide. Is there a motion on Maureen Collins?
Move to approve the resignation of Maureen Collins as a Title I aide.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We then have the employee handbook, in-service and wellness clause.
Working with M3, our insurance provider, the first two sheets in the handout I gave you can explain a little better. We're looking at a 3.9% increase for our health insurance costs for the 23-24 school year. We have 74 family plans and 11 single plans. That cost is $1.1 million. And the annual cost for a family plan is $16,968, and a single plan is $97.15. The increase for next year will be $45,955 if we have the same number of plans for our people. With the M3, with Prevail 360, we don't know who our carrier will be in 24-25, so we got to go out to bid. M3 is recommending us at this time to get ourselves in position to be better for going out for bid. And one of the recommendations is to add a wellness component, which would be if you do the biometric screening, you remain at the same 88% payment by the district. If you don't, then it goes down to 83%. It doesn't matter how you score in the biometrics, as long as you take it, you get it. New employees and retirees would be exempt from it. And the cost difference, and it's not about the cost because we just want to get geared up for 2 years from now when we go out to bid. But if you did not do the screening, 5% would be $848 more for a family plan, or $380 for a single plan. The idea is to incentivize our employees, not their spouses or dependents, just the employees, to take the biometric screening once a year.
Who does the screening?
Prevail 360 would come here. They've come here over the past, well, maybe not during COVID, but they come here all the time and do a
So
screening.
we have some participation already?
Yeah, we have. Carl, you know how many participated
The one
last?
we'd had in October, there was 24 people that did the screening.
That participate?
24 staff participated, yes.
What would you recommend with mental management?
I mean, it's not mandatory, because if you don't, then you got 83%, right? Right. There's 85 people that would be taking it, and it's about 25 tickets before, so I would think that number would jump up a bit. Would save you $380 or $848 annually.
You'd be surprised how many small unknown travelers if I covered.
That's why we're trying to incentivize it and get ourselves in position for 2 years from now.
I think it's a good idea.
The people who haven't participated, have they expressed any hardship by participating or any reason for not participating that would limit them, they're limited?
If you have like a medical condition and like say you're going through cancer treatment or you're pregnant, then you can get a waiver from it.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're already seeing a doctor on a regular basis and you'd be exempt from it as well. But I don't think there's any other hardship. You gotta fast for 12 hours and show up to school and go through the screening. There's nothing, I don't do it because I'm lazy, that's why.
I mean, it's a regular lab test. What lab
They
test?
poke your finger and they get a
I don't
little.
know.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's not,
The hardship is going to be the
I think the hardship is,
It's not really invasive, I mean, there's
No.
like,
The hardship of reality now is going to face you in the face.
But I mean, almost all insurance plans programs have a yearly physical, which is expanded biometric screening. So I mean, as far as
Private doesn't.
don't they?
You're not taking it to the letter, are you?
No,
No, this is just a biometric screening. So,
it's all these years.
I mean, you should get a physical once a year.
Yeah,
but you
I mean,
don't have to.
At our
Yeah.
age, we get physical study.
Yeah, we do.
Would someone like to make a motion one way or the other, and we can continue discussion if we have further discussion?
I make a motion to
Either approve or
approve the biometric screening.
You don't want to approve it, we do nothing.
No, I make a motion, we add the biometric screening as a requirement. In order to get the
To make, so
Or-
make the employee handbook change in service.
I'll second.
Further discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Then we have a policy, first reading, 5330, administration of medication in emergency care.
Deb Christensen is our school nurse provided through Northline Medical Center. We pay them for it. But she wanted to update the policies to best be able to hand out over-the-counter meds with parents and such. And she's worked with Mary Gerbig on this law, the language, and we're ready to have it approved.
And I think the Narcan has been added now too, so that's something new.
Yep.
Narcan is only going to be kept in one place.
Well, the SRO has it in their place too. Yeah, we'll only have it in one place.
I mean, if something happens out on the field or out there, it's a long ways to run. I mean, time is of the essence. It's a matter of seconds. I can't see why we can't have 2 or 3 places. And remember I said with the night.
Plus the security of having it locked up. It's going to be locked up
have lock
someplace.
boxes and that stuff, but to not have it is,
And then you got to issue the coaches all keys for those, and
well,
yep. Having it in here is better than it had before, and I do believe all the officers and EMTs will have it in their vehicles. So this is a step in the right direction, but there's only so much you can do too. It's better to have it with the nurse than not at
I remember the
all.
night the sheriff was here and I said, I envision the day you're going to have block boxes like fire extinguisher things, locked, and Narcan's going to be kept in there all over the schools. And she said, that's right. Because the problem is only getting huge, or bigger, much bigger. And it is coming into Door County now. That is not diagnosis.
Well, if our SRO has it and the nurse has it, that's 2 people in the building that have radios that are available. I don't know how much more you can do. We have the AED boxes around the school for that purpose, but that's limited too. So what are you going to do? Issue it to every staff member to carry around with them?
Would someone like to make a motion on this policy one way or the other, and then we can continue discussion?
I would move to approve policy 5330, administration of medication/emergency care as presented.
Second.
Further questions or discussion?
I just would like there to be some research on what the best practices now in schools with regards to Narcan.
So you want me to check out what all the other schools in Wisconsin, how far are you?
I don't know. I mean, there must be something in your literature about Narcan now. And someone must have done some study on what the best practice.
Well, I would think I'd trust our law firm who.
Well, I wouldn't trust
came
the
up-
law firm of practicing medicine. Thank you.
Well, isn't it important too, a diagnosis of the problem before you administer Narcan? I
You
mean,
don't have time to diagnose it. The kid
well,
perfectly well and then drops to the ground and is no longer breathing. That is pretty good. You're not going to hurt him with Narcan. I have a passion about this. I just think it's such a huge problem, and we need to be ready for it. And I'm not saying not to do this. This is a good step, but there must be some in the school industry. There must be some best practices out there by now. Somebody's writing some stories or policies of what they're doing. And
Next year, I'll talk to you on the spot because you're our best read guy on this out in the educational field. You read any Narcan lately?
I haven't, other than I know that we want to have it in schools so that if there's an issue that happens, but I've not seen anything.
And I don't know how many of our staff would feel comfortable administering it. nurse and the SRO are two quality people.
And they're trained.
Well, the training, you just go, boom. But, I mean, there was a time when people were scared that they were going to ever put electrodes on somebody and zap them with the boxes going all over the places now, you know. And that'll take too. But I'm just saying, I'm just saying we need to be proactive about this and know what's going on outside the island.
It may eventually become like insulin injections and those kind of things where we do have a training at the start of the year. And everybody's trained on how to use that, but I know we're not at that point yet.
So this is our policy on, for yay or nay. Maybe you can assign someone to do a little research on what,
I can do some research on what folks are
on what's
doing in our
happening out
hands.
there.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy having two people that have it that are trained on it. That's pretty good for our staff, I would say.
Our resource person.
SRO has one, yeah, the school resource, the police officer has it, and the nurse.
And they're here every day, guaranteed. Two of them.
Well, I wonder if they could get sick or something and not be here, so 100% guarantee, no. No, there's nothing 100% guaranteed. I mean, if there's an accident, and if the nurse is sick, and then there's an accident someplace, and our SRO goes to back up the accident, then no one's here.
Well, sometimes the SRO is called to a meeting at the sheriff's office.
Absolutely, yeah, so no, there's no guarantee we'll always have it.
I guess you can ask the SRO one, not that we have to be like the
And
other
then I
schools,
guess,
but what are the other schools?
then you make a
that are-
911 call, and you hope the ambulance gets here in time to
That's
save
too
them.
late then.
Well, okay, we can't
So what does it cost
protect the
for
whole
training?
society for everything,
What?
and what are you gonna
What
do?
does it cost for training?
I don't know. I don't know what the qualifications are for
Mike thinks
nurse.
about it.
I'll bring it back. Bring it back.
But then where are we storing it?
I'm not saying no, I'm just saying, look to the next hill.
We just are getting to this step. We're almost getting it approved tonight for the first step. I was pretty happy we got two people in the building.
Okay, I'm calling this question, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We'll look for a motion then to convene to executive session.
Move to convene to executive session.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Aye.
Jeff? Aye. Motion carried at 8:22 p.m.
Okay.
Okay, we're back in open session at 9:53 p.m. We will look for a motion on the baseball coach.
I would move to approve the hiring of Elijah Weimer as the high school head varsity baseball coach, or the assistant, pending the decision on the head varsity coach.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Assistant soccer coach.
Move to approve the hiring of Pedro Castillo as assistant soccer coach.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Volunteer softball coach.
Make a motion to approve the hiring of Sasha Lackerson as the volunteer softball coach.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Then we'll want to set a meeting for meet and confer, a date for meet. And let's schedule our goals meeting first, if we need to have it. Is Wednesday too early?
I will not be here Wednesday.
I'll wait till the next.
The 8th of February?
This is for what meeting?
No, the 8th is CISA. You're talking about the 1st of February.
She was, and I said maybe you want to wait for the next week, because that's only,
Well, this Wednesday is the,
20-something.
okay, yeah.
Is it?
When?
this Wednesday's the
The coming Wednesday is
Is
the 1st.
First,
yeah, okay.
So we would go to the 8th of February.
And
Wednesday,
that is
February.
CISA board night, I can't be here. Does it have to be a
Can
Wednesday?
we do it Monday or something, or?
Monday.
How about Thursday the 9th?
Thursday, the 9th would work.
Thursday the 9th?
What time?
Can we go 6 o'clock? Does that work for you traveling from work?
Yeah. it just-
Okay,
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock on the 9th. Then we need to schedule meet and confer. That would be with the staff after school. What works into your schedule, Mr. McKee?
Any night, if it was 6, would be fine, because we have regular board meeting on the 15th, right, so what happened before the regular board meeting?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, so any night the week of the 6th. And who's coming down?
When's our next board meeting?
Well,
I'm going to encourage, because of the
Request?
request, I'm going to encourage all the board members to come to hear them,
Okay.
so they feel like we've all heard and are thinking. Well, we said not the 8th because of what?
CISA board.
CISA?
Mother, when's our next scheduled board meeting is on the 22nd?
The 15th. Is that the-
So Tuesday the 7th?
Works for me.
Okay, Tuesday.
2/7. What time?
4 o'clock.
3:30?
3:30?
3:30 is fine.
3:30.
What happens if it runs long?
3:30? Next Tuesday.
You're going to have to come and cover everybody's 20 minutes.
Oh,
Tuesday.
I don't want to, because there's.
3:30 or?
3:30 on the 7th.
3:30 on the 7th.
3:30. And what was the other, the 9th?
The 9th at 6 o'clock.
We're gonna get to know each other.
And then the 15th at 7.
15th is...
That's the normal one.
That's the normal one.
That's
the
our-
third, that's the third one of the month.
And then property, buildings, and grounds.
There's no big rush, I mean, after 15.
Let's wait till after the 15th. We can on the 15th decide that we want to indicate that.
Good. Then, if there's nothing else, we'll look for a motion to
I make a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.